Welcome to our channel, where we bring you the most exciting and entertaining stories from the wild world of the American West. Today's story is called A Brother's Betrayal That Ended in Bloodshed. Brothers Joe and Frank Baldwin had always had each other's backs until a beautiful woman named Mary came between them. Frank was the older brother by 5 years and was known for his quick temper. Joe, on the other hand, was known for his level head and cool demeanor. They were an effective team, those two, and had built a name for themselves as successful cattle hands in Texas. But all that changed when Mary rode into town on a horse with flowing blonde hair and eyes like sapphires. She captivated both brothers, but she only had eyes for Joe. And soon the two were working side by side, not only in the ranch, but also building a life together. Frank was furious and felt betrayed by his own brother. One day, over a bottle of whiskey, Frank revealed his plan to kill Joe and take Mary for himself. He begged Joe to reconsider his ways, saying he could still back out and be brothers again. But Joe refused. He loved Mary and wasn't about to let her go. The brothers argued until late into the night, neither willing to back down. The next morning, Joe woke up early, eager to start the day and put the previous night's events behind him. But as he walked outside, he saw Frank's horse was missing. It dawned on him that Frank had left without saying goodbye. A chill went down his spine and he couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong. As the day wore on, Joe's anxiety grew. He tried to focus on his work, but the thought of what Frank might be up to kept intruding on his mind. Finally, around sunset, Joe decided he'd had enough. He left the ranch, got on his horse, and set off to find his brother. Joe found Frank in a small saloon. The place was empty except for a few regulars who looked up at Joe and Frank exchanged angrily. Then Frank drew his gun and fired. Joe ducked and returned fire. The saloon erupted in gunfire as the two brothers battled it out. Joe, with his back against the wall, managed to dodge most of the bullets, but one grazed his arm, making him wince. He returned fire, hitting Frank in the shoulder. Frank stumbled back, clutching his arm. In that moment of distraction, Joe lunged forward, tackled him, and the two grappled on the floor. They struggled, fists flying, each determined to get the upper hand. Joe, fueled by adrenaline and anger, managed to pin Frank down. He looked down at his brother, his face contorted with rage, and punched him repeatedly until he blacked out. Joe got up, his chest heaving, and looked around. People were staring at him, some with admiration, others with fear. He knew he'd gone too far, but in that moment of blind rage, he couldn't control himself. He walked out of the saloon, leaving the unconscious Frank behind. When Joe returned to the ranch, he found Mary waiting for him, her face pale and etched with worry. He told her what had happened, expecting anger, maybe even fear. But what he didn't expect was the understanding in her eyes. She knew the kind of man Frank was, and she knew that Joe had been forced into a corner. In the coming days, Joe's guilt over what he'd done to his brother consumed him. He'd killed Frank, not in self-defense, but in blind rage. He hadn't just shot him, he'd beaten him to a pulp. The image of Frank's lifeless eyes haunted his dreams. Mary tried her best to comfort him, but Joe couldn't shake the feeling that he needed to do something, anything, to make amends. He knew that killing Frank had been wrong, no matter how much he'd provoked him. He decided he needed to tell someone, to confess what he'd done. As he walked into town, head hung low, Joe knew that whatever forgiveness he might have hoped for from Mary, he wasn't going to get it from the people of this town. They knew Frank Baldwin, and they knew that if he hadn't been killed, he would have killed again. Joe had saved them from a dangerous man, and for that, they were grateful. Joe's confession didn't bring back Frank, nor did it ease the pain in his heart, but it did lift a heavy weight off his shoulders. As time passed, the memory of Frank faded, but the love he and Mary shared grew stronger. In the end, it was the only thing that kept him going. And that, folks, is the story of a brother's betrayal that ended in bloodshed. We hope you enjoyed this tale of love, loss, and the complexities of family ties. If you did, don't forget to like and subscribe so you never miss an episode. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.